Kairok had just sent several of his best soldiers on a mission to find the missing food. He himself had another concern. It was 7 o'clock. The sky had already become quite dark. He had instructed Sopak to be back by supper. The boy should have met him at Splim's. Kairok scanned the sky, but there was no sign of him. Probably lost track of time, the anxious father told himself. Tiru, Angu, and Mumbor were chatting animatedly among themselves as they rode up the street into mountain shade on their way to look for a solstice tree. As they passed through the square, they fell silent and stared. There in the town square was an enormous and gorgeous tree. Instead of the normal deciduous tree, it was a pine. Instead of cut, it had been planted in the ground, with a number of paving bricks removed to make it possible. It had been fully decorated from tip to trunk, and at the base, snoring loudly, was Splin. Angu walked over and shook him awake. "Splin, did you do this?" "Yep," Splin said with a nod. "How?" "I got some help from some friends in Bounty. After you left, I thought about it for a while. I thought that Solstice is a celebration of making it halfway to spring. It's a celebration of life. So wouldn't it be better to have a live tree instead of a dead one? Instead of one that's asleep, why not one that's awake? So I talked to the evergreens and explained what I wanted to do. That was the hard part. Trees have a hard time grasping concepts beyond light, water, and soil. But I found a pine tree that was willing to make the move. I got some gophers and moles to help me dig it up, some ponies to help me move it, and then some squirrels, possums, and pine martens to decorate it. Oh, and a rat. The rat put the topper on. He wanted me to make sure you knew that." "You did good, my friend," said Tiro. "Now we can go get a hot cup of cider instead of spending the whole morning in the cold." "I'm allergic to apples," Mumbor complained. Marcus and Quargle were both at Splim's for breakfast. It wasn't long before the two of them were arguing again. "Shanar's good. He gives presents to people. The kids need to know their goblin heritage. It should be Kallas." Splim came over to refill their mugs with fresh chota. "Gentlemen, may I make a suggestion? Why don't you compromise?" "Compromise?" said Quargle and Marcus in unison. "Yeah, both of these guys are made up anyway, and nobody here has ever heard of either one. So put them together. Have one guy who gives presents to the good kids, and for the naughty ones, gives them rocks or something." Marcus slowly turned to look at Quargle. "Shanar-Kallas?" "He's got to have Kallas's belly," said Quargle. "And Shanar's beard. Dressed in fur. Red fur. And he's got to laugh a lot, the way Kallas does. And ride in a goat-drawn sled." Quargle grinned. "This just might work." Saitet circled Marai Uthra once again before alighting in a tall redwood. There was certainly something going on down there. He changed to Lutin form in order to access the bracelet he now wore. This was Ruki's greatest invention yet. Each bracelet in the set was equipped with a small section of crystal ball, much like the one he'd used to communicate with Kairok from Lava Mist. With these, users could see and hear one another across great distances. "Saitet to base," he said into the bracelet. "Kairok here. Go ahead, Saitet." "There's a great deal of activity in Marai Uthra this morning. Something is happening in the square. The elves are giving out parcels of—" "That's our food, sir. They have meat cubes." "Good work, Saitet. Return to base." Saitet was about to respond when his nose picked up the smell of roasting meat. To the northwest was a plume of smoke. "With your permission, Captain, there's something else I feel I should investigate. Call it a hunch, but I think there's more to this mystery." "Permission granted. Be careful, Bat." "Thank you, sir." Saitet out. With that, he transformed and took off. Sopak was extremely tired. He had been flying all night. Loskai was much farther away than he had originally thought. His wings were cold and getting numb, but he was determined to keep going. No one called him a chicken. He would prove there was no such thing as a snowman. As the sun rose to the southeast, Sopak welcomed its warmth. On he flew to Loskai, oblivious to the worry his father was experiencing at that moment. "What in the world is this thing?" asked Point, as he examined one of the more curious items in Marcus' shop. It bore a passing resemblance to two horses attempting to create a third. "That's a fertility charm from Zumasa," replied Marcus. Point dropped it like a hot potato. "Not the sort of thing K-Rock would be interested in." "Have you thought about a book?" Marcus suggested. "I got this really interesting novel from Tazwa. It's about a farm boy who gets turned into a rat, then sails the world looking for his true love who was abducted by pirates." "That does sound like something he might enjoy. Let me see it." Marcus took the book from the shelf and handed it to Point. The cover was beautifully illustrated, with an incredibly realistic picture of a rat in nautical garb. "8 slips of silver if you're interested." Point opened the book. "This is in Tazwan." "Oh, well, I do have a translated version of the book." "Let me see that one." "Only it's translated into Kumari." "Never mind." Jun slipped quietly into Rugi's workshop. He knew that the Thurge was not used to his new sense of hearing, and loud noises could easily startle him. He waited a moment for Rugi to acknowledge him, then asked, "How is your special project coming?" "I think I've got it," replied the charm maker. Placing a ring on his finger, he concentrated. Everything in the room, including Jun, began to float. Everything but Rugi. The Lutin slurred some curse word as he carefully willed the furniture back to the floor. "I was hoping to have this ready by tonight." Jun rolled up his sleeves. "I'm no Thurge," he said, "but I do know magic. Let's see how much damage we can do in one day." Rugi hoped the joke wasn't prophetic. "Happy birthday, special girl!" Booley beamed at the waking face of his daughter. "Hi, Daddy! It's my birthday!" "Yes, it is. Exactly 3 days before Solstice, just as you requested." "I'm having a birthday! My very first birthday!" Kara sang, dancing around the room. "I need to go to Bounty today," said Booley. "There's a bowl of fruit for your breakfast downstairs." "Can't I come too?" asked Kara. "I'm afraid not," said Booley. "This is something special I have to do by myself." Kara pouted. "I'll miss you," she said. Booley thought for a moment. "I wasn't going to do this," he said. "I was going to save this until the party tonight, but perhaps it would serve you better now. Come to my room." Kara followed obediently. Sitting on Booley's bed was a wooden horse on wheels. It was painted brown with white speckles on its neck and a long black mane. It was exactly the right size for a bat to ride. "Oh, Daddy, thank you!" "Just wait," said Booley. "You haven't seen the best part." He moved some parts of the horse, tucking its tail into its body, swinging the horse head into the chest to reveal a Lutin head in its place. Hands and feet flipped out of the hooves. The horse now looked just like Booley in his brown shirt and pants. "I love it," said Kara, hugging her father's leg with her one arm. "And it's a double nice present because it's you." "You be good now. I've asked Miko to come by later and check on you. I should be home in a few hours." He kissed his daughter on the head and went downstairs on his way to Bounty. Grickle and Grackle were both extremely nervous. When they got pulled off their jobs creating air vents in the past, they knew exactly what it was about. Both of them had their heads lowered when they came into the office. K-Rock immediately knew something was very wrong. "Boys, Sopak hasn't come home since yesterday. You were the last ones to see him. Do you know where he is?" "Well," Grickle hemmed. "Yes?" We didn't really think he'd go, Grackle hawed. Go where? Karock demanded. Boys, where is my son? Grickle and Grackle exchanged glances, neither wanting to speak first. Boys, I am concerned about Sopok's safety. If you truly are his friends, you need to answer my question, so that if he's in trouble, I can go and help him. He's in Loskai, said Grickle. Sopok and Grackle got into an argument, and Grackle dared him to prove that snowmen aren't real, so Sopok's going to Loskai to prove they aren't. Loskai? That's nearly 1,000 miles away. We didn't tell him to go, said Grackle. Actually, you did, said Grickle. Shut up! Dismissed, said Karock, and you can bet I'll be talking to your parents later. Turning to Point, he said, Bring me Tripe, Foxtooth, and Redfoot, and Gitch as well. Then go saddle up 4 ponies.